Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Ready to dive into something pretty amazing today?
Always ready to dive in.
Perfect. So today we're going deep on gratitude, going way beyond just, the basics and really exploring how it can completely transform your life, like really change things for the better.
I think that's something a lot of people are looking for.
I think so too. And our guide for all of this is this article called The Power of Gratitude, How Practicing Thankfulness Can Transform Your Life from WeWe Magazine.
I've read that one. It's fascinating.
It really is. There's so much to unpack there. And it really gets into like the science behind gratitude and all the amazing benefits.
It's not just like a feel-good concept. There's some real depth to it.
Exactly. But before we get too far, I'm curious, when we say gratitude, what are we really talking about? Like, how would you define it?
Yeah, well, gratitude is more than just, saying thank you for something. It's really about recognizing and appreciating all the good stuff in our lives,
Yeah.
both big and small.
So it's about like shifting our focus to what we have instead of what we're missing.
Exactly. And it's not just about recognizing it. It's about really savoring those good things and letting that appreciation sink in.
So it's about how that recognition makes us feel and how it changes our perspective.
You got it. It's about cultivating a mindset where we're actively looking for the positive in our experiences.
Okay, so I've heard a lot about how gratitude can be good for our mental health, like helping with stress, anxiety, even depression.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the most well-researched benefits of gratitude. Studies show that practicing gratitude can actually change the structure of our brains,
Sure.
like strengthening the connections associated with positive emotions.
So it's like we're rewiring our brains to be happier.
Kind of. When we experience gratitude, our brains release all these feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin.
Those are the happiness chemicals.
Right. And the more we activate those pathways, the stronger they become.
So it's like building a muscle, but for happiness.
I like that analogy.
But this article goes even further, saying that gratitude can actually improve our physical health too. Is there any truth to that?
Oh, there's definitely a connection. For example, studies have shown that people who practice gratitude tend to have lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol.
Cortisol, that's the one that's linked to all sorts of health problems, right?
Exactly. And lower cortisol has been linked to better sleep, a stronger immune system, even reduced inflammation.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's not just about feeling better mentally, it actually impacts our physical well-being too.
It really does.
That's incredible. But what about our relationships with others? How does gratitude play into that?
Gratitude is huge for relationships. When we express gratitude to others, it strengthens our bonds and makes us feel more connected. Think about it when someone says a heartfelt thank you to you. It makes you feel seen and appreciated, right?
It definitely does.
And it works both ways. The act of expressing gratitude also makes the giver feel happier and more connected.
So it's a win-win for everyone. It makes you wonder why we don't do it more often.
I know, right?
But there's another benefit that this article mentions that I find really interesting. Gratitude as a happiness amplifier. What exactly does that mean?
This is where things get really fascinating. We often think of happiness as this fleeting thing that comes and goes.
Right, like it's temporary.
Yeah. But research suggests that gratitude can actually raise our baseline level of happiness, what psychologists call our happiness set point.
So instead of just having those moments of happiness, gratitude helps us cultivate a more lasting sense of well-being.
Exactly. By focusing on the positive and appreciating what we have, we're training our brains to notice and savor those good things more easily.
So it makes us less affected by the ups and downs of life.
Exactly. And that leads to greater resilience.
So gratitude isn't a quick fix. It's about building a foundation for lasting happiness.
That's the idea.
That's really powerful. But what about when things get tough? Can gratitude really help us through difficult times? I mean, this article seems to think, so it talks about gratitude as a resilience builder.
Absolutely. Resilience is our ability to cope with tough situations and bounce back from challenges. And research shows that gratitude plays a key role in that.
So it's not about pretending everything is okay. It's about finding strength and hope even when things are hard.
Exactly. Gratitude doesn't erase the challenges,
Yeah.
but it helps us approach them with a more positive and empowered mindset.
So it's like having an inner compass that keeps pointing us towards the good even when we feel lost.
I love that analogy.
But now I'm really curious, how do we actually put this into practice? How do we make gratitude a part of our everyday lives in a way that feels real and meaningful?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll definitely explore in depth. But first, we need to take a quick break.
Sounds good. We'll be right back after this. All right, we are back. And before the break, we were talking about how gratitude can help us get through tough times, build that resilience. But let's get practical here. How do we actually make gratitude, a part of our everyday lives?
Well, the good news is that there are tons of simple practices you can try, like things you can easily fit into your routine.
That's good to hear because sometimes it feels like you need to, you know, completely overhaul your life to make a change.
Right, but gratitude is really accessible.
Mm.
It doesn't require any special skills or equipment or anything like that. It's just about shifting your perspective.
So, what are some of those practices? Like, what can people actually start doing?
One of the most popular ones is gratitude journaling. Basically, you just take a few minutes each day to write down things you're grateful for.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Do you have
But
to write down like big life changing things?
not at all.
Yeah.
It could be anything, really,
Yeah.
like a sunny morning, a good cup of coffee, a kind gesture from a stranger, whatever brings a smile to your face.
I've actually tried gratitude journaling before, and I found it really helpful to do it like right before bed. Kind of reflecting on the good things from the day.
Oh, that's a great idea. I bet that helps you sleep better, too.
It did. It really helped me fall asleep with a more peaceful mindset.
Yeah, that makes sense. Gratitude has been linked to lower levels of cortisol, which is that stress hormone that can keep you up at night.
Yeah.
But even if you don't journal before bed, just finding a consistent time and place to practice gratitude can make a big difference.
So it's about creating a habit, right? Like we would with exercise or anything else that's good for us.
Exactly. And just like exercise, the more you practice gratitude, the stronger those neural pathways in your brain become, those connections associated with feeling happy and content.
It's like you said before, we're building a muscle, but for happiness.
I love that analogy. It really captures the idea that gratitude is something we can cultivate and strengthen over time.
It's not just something we either have or we don't. It's something we can develop.
Exactly. And the more we practice, the more natural it becomes to see the good in things, even when things are tough.
That makes sense. But what about when we're feeling down or struggling? Can we actually force ourselves to be grateful, even when it feels difficult?
That's a great question. And it's important to remember that gratitude isn't about denying or suppressing negative emotions. It's not about putting on a happy face when we're actually feeling sad or angry or frustrated.
So it's not about toxic positivity, like pretending everything's okay when it's not.
Right. It's more about acknowledging the full spectrum of human experience, both the good and the bad. And sometimes the most authentic way to practice gratitude is to simply acknowledge that we're struggling, offer ourselves some compassion, and then gently shift our focus to anything that we can appreciate in that moment.
So it's about finding those glimmers of hope, even in the midst of difficulty.
Exactly. Gratitude doesn't erase the challenges, but it gives us a new perspective, a new way of approaching them.
It's like having that inner compass that keeps pointing us towards the good, even when we feel lost.
I love that. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always something to be grateful for. It might be small, it might be subtle, but it's there.
And sometimes finding that little glimmer of gratitude is all it takes to start shifting our mindset.
Absolutely. It's like a little spark that can ignite a whole fire of positivity and hope.
That's a beautiful way to put it. But how do we know if our gratitude practice is actually working? Like, what are some signs that we're on the right track?
Well, one of the most noticeable signs is a shift in perspective. You might find that you're naturally more inclined to see the positive in situations, even when things are challenging.
So instead of getting bogged down by the negative, we're more likely to see the silver lining.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective leads to greater resilience. You're better able to cope with setbacks and bounce back from adversity. Challenges may still feel difficult, but you're able to navigate them with more grace and strength.
It's like gratitude gives us an extra layer of armor, to protect us from life's inevitable challenges.
I love that analogy. It really captures the sense of strength and resilience that gratitude can cultivate. And another sign that your gratitude practice is working is an increase in compassion and empathy for others.
Oh, that's interesting. How does gratitude lead to more compassion?
Well, when we're grateful for the good in our own lives, we're more likely to extend that same kindness and understanding to those around us.
That makes sense. When we feel abundant, we're more likely to share that abundance with others.
Precisely. And that increased compassion can create a ripple effect, positively impacting our relationships, our communities, even the world around us.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It really is.
Yep.
It's like gratitude is contagious.
I like that. It's true. When we express gratitude, it inspires others to do the same.
So it's not just about our own personal well-being, it's about creating a more positive and grateful world.
Exactly. And that's something worth striving for, right?
Absolutely. But are there any potential pitfalls or challenges to be aware of when practicing gratitude? Like, are there any downsides or things we should watch out for?
Well, one potential pitfall is falling into the trap of comparing our lives to others. It's easy to get caught up in that I'm not as grateful as I should be mindset.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely been there. It's like we start judging our own gratitude, which seems kind of counterproductive.
Exactly. It's important to remember that gratitude is a personal journey, and there's no right or wrong way to do it.
So it's about honoring our own unique experiences and finding what feels authentic and meaningful for us.
Exactly. And it's also important to remember that gratitude is a practice, not a destination. There will be days when it feels effortless and days when it takes more effort.
Yeah.
The key is to be patient with yourself. Celebrate your progress and keep coming back to this powerful practice.
That's such a good reminder. It's not about being perfect. It's about making the effort even when it's hard.
Exactly. And over time, as you continue to practice, you'll find that gratitude becomes more and more ingrained in your way of being. It'll become less of something you do and more of who you are.
That's beautiful. I love that. But I am curious, can we have too much of a good thing? Are there any downsides or potential risks to practicing gratitude?
That's a really interesting question. And while gratitude is generally seen as a positive thing, it's important to be mindful of how we approach it. For example, we don't want to use gratitude as a way to suppress or deny negative emotions.
So it's not about using gratitude to bypass or avoid dealing with difficult feelings or situations.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging the full spectrum of human experience, both the good and the bad. And sometimes that means allowing ourselves to feel sadness or anger or grief without judgment. It's about finding a balance between appreciating the good and acknowledging the difficult.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about honoring the complexity of life and recognizing that gratitude doesn't erase the challenges we face.
Precisely. It's about integrating gratitude into the tapestry of our lives.
Mm.
It's not about covering up the rough patches, but rather adding a layer of beauty and appreciation to the whole picture.
That's such a great analogy. It's about seeing our lives as a work of art with all its imperfections and all its beauty. Yeah.
Exactly. And gratitude helps us appreciate the beauty even more. It helps us see the good in the midst of the bad and find meaning and purpose in every experience.
That's so powerful. So it's not just about feeling grateful. It's about letting that gratitude shape how we see ourselves, how we relate to others, how we move through the world.
You got it. And that's the true transformative power of gratitude.
Well said. As we wrap up our deep dive into the power of gratitude, what's one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
Gratitude is a practice that takes intention and effort, but the rewards are beyond measure. It's not a magic bullet, but it's a powerful tool that can help us navigate life's challenges with more grace, resilience, and joy.
Beautifully said. And to our listeners, we encourage you to embrace the power of gratitude in your own lives. Start small, be consistent, and watch as this practice unfolds its magic. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep